Hi, I'm so glad you're here this week. If you're new here, my name is Yolanda Renteria. I'm a trauma therapist, and I try to explain why everything about us actually makes sense when we understand the impact our life experiences had in us. So, for this week, I wanted to talk about emotions. Emotions is something that we often don't talk about, but they're so important. We're so used to dismissing our emotions because when we were kids, we probably grew up in families who didn't know what to do with our emotions. Emotions make other people feel uncomfortable. When we are upset, when we're sad, or even when we're experiencing too much joy, other people might not know what to do with it. So, because they don't know what to do with our emotions, they often give us the message that whatever we're feeling is wrong to feel. Oftentimes this happens since we were very young, and so that the message that we kind of understood was that it wasn't okay to feel emotions. What ends up happening is that instead of trying to process our emotions in the moment, we repress them. When we were young, this was actually probably the best thing for our body to do because we weren't in an environment where we were allowed to feel our emotions, right? Like, think about this. If you were having an angry outburst, right, which is pretty normal for a child to do, and your parents would say, well, if you cry, I'm going to give you something to cry about, or go to your room, or whatever it was, or even like removing things like privileges, then it taught us that we needed to be quiet or repress our emotions in order to survive that experience or avoid pain. As adults, it's just something that we do naturally, where we feel shame and this automatic need to shut down when we're feeling too much emotions. For other people, it might show up as like wanting to talk about their emotions endlessly now that they can. In either way, like, emotions might not be being processed like the best way. So I'm going to show you how to actually process emotion, and I'm gonna try to teach you to be a little bit more in tune with your body when it comes to emotions. When we think about emotions, we usually think about them. Our thoughts are separate than what's happening in our body. Emotions actually carry energy. Emotions are energy in motion. Whenever you're feeling an emotion, you're feeling something in your body. It doesn't matter if this emotion is joy, anger, frustration, it doesn't matter. We haven't been taught to feel it. And honestly, like, until pretty recently, a lot of the times we really didn't know that we were supposed to feel our emotions, right? So when we don't feel our emotions, we don't process them. And what we end up doing is we tend to want to run away from the emotions by avoiding them. And then that energy doesn't really get released from our body. So I'm going to show you how to release the energy from your emotions in the moment. The first thing that we want to do is we want to identify our emotions. Now, this part is very crucial because oftentimes we just think about the primary emotions, which is like sad, I'm angry, I'm happy, right? I feel embarrassed maybe, or fear, but we hardly ever talk about emotions in a way that's more specific. If you think about like Facebook, if you have a Facebook account, like it, you know how they have that, or they used to have, I don't have Facebook, but they used to have that scroll down option on the emotions, and you had like a list of emotions of all the things that you could be feeling. That's how we need to learn to identify our emotions, because the moment that you identify the emotion precisely, you will feel it. You will feel something settle in your body. So let me give you an example. Like right now, whatever you're doing, just kind of check in with yourself and see, like, how am I feeling in this moment? It might be, I'm feeling exhausted. I'm feeling ashamed. I'm feeling betrayed. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling uncomfortable. I'm feeling overjoyed, overwhelmed, whatever that is. And I just want you to kind of just sit with that in your body and just process it. Now, if you have trouble with this experience, I just want you to stop right here, go on Google and type in list of negative emotions. I know this is just like how the best way to get the list. I don't usually like to label emotions as negative or positive. They're just emotions, but this is the way to get the list of all of those emotions that are very uncomfortable for us. Once you do, I want you to find whatever list works for you. There's one that's called the wheel of emotions, and on that wheel, they actually have it's really neat because it works from inside out. So you identify your primary emotion, and then you can move up the wheel to identify what feeling, what emotion actually you can relate to more. Okay, so once you have done that, identify where you feel it in your body. Okay, a lot of people feel them on their chest or stomach, but many times they feel it on their arms or legs. It can be anywhere in your body. It can be on your face, your head. Once you have done that, just sit with it for a minute, okay? And then try to make sense of it. How do we make sense of it? We kind of try to find a reason why we're feeling this. I'm feeling really embarrassed right now. What is triggering this emotion? I think it's because usually people make fun of people who do these type of things, or because this isn't socially acceptable, or whatever. Just try to make sense of why it actually makes sense for you to feel this way. Because if you're feeling it, there's a reason, and it makes sense that you're feeling it, okay? I oftentimes hear people say oh, I shouldn't be feeling this. And that is actually the opposite of what is happening, because if you're feeling it, you should be feeling it. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but this is the way that we normalize and allow emotions, is because honestly, at the end of the day, whatever is showing up is what it should be showing up. Our job is just to explore and try to understand it. So once we kind of make sense of it and say you know what, maybe it makes sense that I'm feeling like I'm failing at being a mom because my kid is doing bad in school, and the expectations that school has are really high for them. Or it might be that, whatever it is, I don't want to get caught up in that, right? But whatever works for you. But once you kind of identified it and make sense of it, the next step is to normalize it. So tell yourself, you know what? It makes sense that I feel this right now, because based on the situation, how else would I feel, right? How can I feel like a good mom when this is happening? How can I not feel shame if this happens, right? So it makes sense that I'm feeling it right now. The next step is give yourself some compassion. Just validate it and give yourself some compassion. And tell yourself, you know what? This sucks. It sucks to feel this way in this moment. What I experience, or what I'm experiencing now, feels very uncomfortable and it sucks. This is where I am right now in my life. And what I want you to do then is just hold it wherever you're feeling it, right? And you can actually do this during the duration of the exercise, is just hold that part of you that's feeling it. So if it's on my chest, I will just feel it and say you know what? I'm feeling a lot of shame in this moment, and it actually makes perfect sense because of what I've been through, and it sucks, and it feels yucky, and when I feel it, I just feel this huge thing, this huge heaviness right now, and I'm just gonna let it pass. And then my advice to you is to do a deep breathing exercise where you're feeling you're breathing into the emotion. So if I feel shame on my chest, I'm gonna take a deep breath, and I'm gonna feel that air is actually going into my heart or wherever that emotion is. And then that's all I will do. And I'm gonna let the emotion settle. And what I will notice, what you will usually notice, is that after no more than 90 seconds, that emotion actually begins to shift. And it's actually you processing your emotions. No emotion is permanent. Emotions come and go. The intensity subsides or decreases the more we sit with it. I know it can feel very uncomfortable, but I can promise you that you will notice those shifts. If you allow it to come, it'll go. I hope that this has been helpful. Let me know if you liked it. Let me know if you want another activity like this. I'd be more than happy to bring other tools for you to try at home. Take care, and as always, remember that this is not a replacement for therapy. It's actually a tool so that hopefully you can add to your repertoire already. So thank you, and I hope to see you back next week. Bye.